You are listening to the Law Enforcement Pirate Radio Network. Radio Free Larry presiding.
You can run, but you can't hide.
Radio Free Larry.
All right, here we are again, once again, in impeachment mania. You see, the information from the GAO was released during a certain time, and that would put them in that deep state collusion, in that deep state conspiracy, in that deep state criminal racketeering conspiracy, attempting to extort the president into allowing the deep state shadow government criminal enterprise to engage in activity of a criminal, of a criminal, of a criminal felony nature. So that's where we are today. Where we've been, and that's where we are. This is an example of what the GAO is actually saying, just so you can understand how ludicrous it is. There's no way they could make that mistake without being criminal. FBI receives a budget. In the budget, it says you will give $50,000, $100,000, $1 million to a certain entity. The FBI receives information from an anonymous informant that the entity, the nation, whoever it is they're supposed to give the money to, is corrupt. That the money is going to be used for corrupt purposes. And even if it isn't used for corrupt purposes, it's just going to be corrupt people doing whatever it is they want to do. They're not going to investigate based upon legitimate standard. Now, theoretically, that's the FBI budget being used corruptly also, in that they do that anyway. However, in reality, if we were a fully functional nation bound by Constitution and law, the FBI has a requirement by oath and by Constitution, by law, not to release those funds until they're sure that nation engages in activity that is basically not corrupt, not criminal. We use the word corrupt so many times, people don't realize that it actually means criminal in most cases. And those most cases, we're talking at least 90% of the time. So again, we're all being dumbed down. So the president can't release that money by law, by Constitution, until he's sure the entity receiving the money is not going to use the money for corrupt purposes, and those corrupt purposes being criminal. If you are only investigating those people that you want to investigate based upon personal franchise or racketeering franchise, then you don't get the money. Unfortunately, of course, the FBI doesn't investigate such things because they're part of it. However, in reality, I'm sure so many times every year, money doesn't get spent at all. Let it be spent at the appropriate time. And reason could be that the entity that they would provide the money to had a dysfunction. Just because the House and the Senate says spend this money in that direction, the president, the executive branch, does not have to spend that money. It's foolhardy because you could lose the money the next year, and that was one of the crazy things in government. You have to spend money because if we don't spend it, they're not going to give it to us next year. So you quickly run around in the latter part of the fiscal year trying to spend money so you don't look like you didn't need it. And you do need it. People are just generally fiscally responsible, most people, and they won't spend money if they don't have to. But yet, to operate the government, it requires a certain level of funding. Now, there are people that are not fiscally responsible and they waste money everywhere. I realize that. I'm banging my head off of the windscreen here. The noise filter on my microphone rig over here. So, as we see it today, the GAO has gone wacko. Add GAO to the wacko list. There's no way that it would ever hold up in federal court. There's no way. The judge will say the president gets to spend it or not spend it based upon his constitutional requirements. Law requires the president, the oath requires the president, and everybody else in the executive branch only to spend the money when it's lawful. It is not lawful to spend money that the Senate and the House tells you to spend just because they're going to send it to a criminal crony overseas. The GAO is a disgrace. They're a laughingstock, and they are criminal in a criminal conspiracy designed to overthrow the Constitution and the constitutional government of the United States and replace it with an executive branch racketeering and organized crime Politburo. They are being enriched. They are being enriched for making such statements. They are being enriched for making such statements. Hopefully this is coming through. My headphones don't sound like it's coming through like it should, but I listened to it yesterday and it sounded well. I have to figure out what the problem is. Maybe I have to get closer to my microphones. Do I sound better like this? How do I sound? I'll bang my head off the noise filter there. So again, I mean, this is ludicrous. This is ludicrous. Wacko. Rosemary's Baby is alive in the Senate and the House. Now it's in GAO. Demonic culture. Cancel culture is criminal. I call it cancel culture just to give it a chic name so you'll look the other way. Cancel culture is racketeering, organized crime, and murder. Wake up and praise God in all that you do. Praise God.
You are listening to the Law Enforcement Pirate Radio Network. Radio Free Larry presiding.
You can run, but you can't hide.